The Chicago Bears are in the playoffs, and now that they are in the dance, how do they stack up against some of the other teams in the NFC Playoff Picture? That's what we're going to discuss here on Chicago Bears Now. My name is Harrison Graham. Welcome into the program. Let's start with the scenario where they get the number 2 or number 3 seed. If they win one more game, they are guaranteed the 2 seed. If they lose their last 2 games, but Green Bay loses once, they'd be the 3 seed potentially if Philly were to win out. The 2 seed is the most likely scenario, but I kind of bunch these two together. If they are the 2 or 3 seed, the Bears will play one of these 5 teams: the Los Angeles Rams, the San Francisco 49ers, the Seattle Seahawks, the Green Bay Packers, or the Detroit Lions. Now, the Lions have some work to do just to even have a chance to get into the dance, but we'll get to them in a minute. Let's kind of go one by one here. Bears versus Rams. I don't think there's a team I want to face less. I think the Rams are the most complete team in the NFL. You get them at home, so that would help a little bit, but I think Stafford proved last year, even at his older age, in Philadelphia in the snow, he can absolutely play in the elements. They run the football well. They're good in the trenches. That stuff all translates in the postseason. And they also have the 3 main ingredients: a great head coach who's also an awesome play caller, a good defensive coordinator in Chris Shula, and then Matthew Stafford, who's been there and done that. They've got those playoff ingredients. Their only real weakness, which isn't a terrible weakness, but it's been a problem at times, is their secondary. And I guess you could say special teams. They just fired their special teams coordinators. That's been a bit of a problem as well. But to me, they're the most complete team in the NFC, and it starts with that 3-headed monster of McVay, Shula, and Stafford. So if there's any team I'm looking to avoid, it would be the Los Angeles Rams. Now, how about the Bears and 49ers? We'll obviously get a sneak peek of this upcoming week on Sunday Night Football, but the 49ers have a lot of key injuries. I mean, 3 guys that have gone down during the year, and there's more contributors, but Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, 2 All-Pros, Mykel Williams, the rookie, who I liked a lot coming out and was flashing early on in the season. And then Brandon Aiyuk, who got injured last year, never came back this year. That's a whole different situation, but still, heading into the season, would have been their number 1 receiver on paper. And defensively in particular, they got a lot of issues on paper. Now, Robert Saleh's kind of patchworked it. He's made it work, but does that translate against a team like the Bears, against a team like the Seahawks, who they'll have to play in Week 18? We'll see. I think San Francisco, even though they have a hell of a coaching staff, their offense is still really good. I think that's a team you would feel at least comfortable playing, especially at home. Plus, Brock Purdy in super cold conditions, if that's what ends up playing. He doesn't have the biggest arm, the greatest physical characteristics, so that would be a heavy dose of CMC, you would imagine, which could beat you, no question. But I'll say this: compared to the Rams, I'd rather take my chances with the 49ers. How about the Seahawks? The Seahawks have a very deep roster. You could argue it's the best roster in the league. Sam Darnold's the X factor, right? He's the key for them. If he plays well, they can beat anybody. They can win a Super Bowl. If he plays like he did down the stretch against the Rams this past week, they could go all the way. If he plays like he did in the first 2.5 quarters or the first time against the Rams, they could lose in the first round. We saw it last year with the Vikings. He is the key to their team. When he's on, he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, but at times the turnovers pile up, right? He's got 13 picks. He's got some fumbles. He's been really good the last 2 years. How does he play? You would think from a Seattle standpoint, getting over that hump and beating the Rams, especially for him, that's the team that's had his number. His 2 worst games as a Viking were against the Rams. The first game this year against the Rams was a tough go, and most of this last game against the Rams, he was struggling too. But then he started to find some answers. So to me, this would come down to, like, if Sam's a little off and Caleb plays well, I think the Bears would have a chance. If Sam plays well, I think the Seahawks are the better team, just roster-wise. Doesn't mean the Bears couldn't win. Doesn't mean they couldn't win a physical game. But it would largely come down to the quarterbacks, I would think, in that matchup. Okay, Bears versus Packers. Obviously, it would be the 3rd time they face each other in like a 6-week period. They know each other well. They've played in a bunch of close games the past 2 years. And as of now, it's actually the most likely matchup, the 2-7 game. That's where things sit as of now. The Packers, of course, won 28-21 up at Lambeau Field in Week 14. The Bears had the miracle comeback 22-16 in overtime in Week 16. Obviously, no Micah Parsons. Jordan Love left that game. You would think he's going to be back, obviously, especially for the playoffs, assuming they do get in. I will say this. The Bears would need to play better than they did the last time out. They had some fortune come their way down the stretch to win that game. That being said, I would make a strong argument that through 3.5 quarters, that's one of the worst games the Bears has played all year. The only game you would say they for sure played worse in was Detroit in week 2 when they just got spanked on the road, but that was a long time ago. I think the Bears can and would play better. I think the Bears should feel pretty confident that they can beat the Packers. They just beat them after playing shitty. I get they had a couple guys out. Well, welcome to the NFL. Bears have had guys out all year, especially on defense. I think the Bears stack up fairly well against the Packers. Wouldn't be easy, but again, if I'm comparing to like the Rams or even the Seahawks, I'd probably rather take my chances with the Green Bay Packers. Okay, the Detroit Lions, who the Bears have not matched up that well with the last few years, but especially indoors. I think outdoors you'd feel better about it, and that's where it would be because the Lions can't win the division, so you would get them at home. The only thing is if you do play them in the first round, that means the Lions probably got some of their mojo back, right? That means they would have won their last 2 games because they have to win out, and the Packers have to lose out for Detroit to make the playoffs, and you would have to play them for a second week in a row. I don't love that dynamic. Like, it's one thing to play the Packers for a third time in 6 weeks, but like 2 weeks in a row, that situation has always made me nervous. So I would rather avoid that. Again, it's a long shot Detroit even makes it at this point, but they are one of the teams you could play if you get the either number 2 or the number 3 seed. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. We're trying to get to 147,000 subscribers. Shout out to everybody who helped us get to 146K. Free and daily Bears content for free. We don't charge a dime. We appreciate your guys' support. Out of that grouping, I think the 49ers and the Packers are the 2 teams I would look at. All 5 are tough, man. Like, really. Like, again, even Detroit, who's kind of been reeling, if they rally to get in, that means they've played well these last few weeks. We know their offense is dangerous. Green Bay is not going to be an easy out. San Francisco's not an easy out, but the Rams and the Seahawks, I think both those teams translate to cold weather. So I don't think you'd have some huge advantage over them at home. So, I guess I would pick the 49ers out of that grouping over all the other ones, but none of them would be easy, and there's a chance you'd be an underdog against all those teams from a betting standpoint. All right, if the Bears are the number 1 seed, who could they play? Well, all those teams we just mentioned are a team they could play. And then also 2 more teams, which we'll get to. Just a reminder, if the Bears get the number 1 seed, they get a first-round bye. So the way the NFL playoffs work, it's not like the college football playoff where it's a straight-up bracket. They would face the lowest seed remaining. So one of those teams we just mentioned, if they're in the wild card, like if the Rams are a wild card team, if they're like the 6th seed and they're the lowest seed remaining, they'd play them, right? They could also play as high as the 4 seed. That would be the highest potential seed they could face because they wouldn't play the 3 seed if they won because that's who the 2 seed would play if they won, so on and so forth. You guys know how that works. But Carolina or Tampa will be the 4 seed, winning the NFC South. The best case scenario would be facing one of those teams. We'll talk about that in a second. And again, you could face all these teams, which we just previously mentioned. Those are all options as well. But I think it's I would take my chances with the NFC South. We'll talk about it more here in a sec. But got to tell you guys about Prize Picks, the best daily fantasy sports app out there is Prize Picks. It's the holiday season, the best time of year for sports, bowl games, basketball matchups, playoff pushes. It's all happening at once, and while you and I are out here making decisions every day, what gifts to buy, what to eat, which game to watch, there's one place where it feels good to be right. That is Prize Picks. The way you play Prize Picks is simple. You pick more or less on 2 to 6 player lineups, and if you hit, you win money. Oh, and by the way, everyone's favorite Prize Picks holiday promotion is back. 7 days of Pixmas. Prize Picks is giving out 7 days of deals all the way through Christmas Day, including a Christmas Day max discount. Pixmas started on December 20th, so download the app today and unwrap those deals. Check out Prize Picks right now for this upcoming weekend, I should say. Actually, got a little Christmas special for you guys. Forgot I submitted this lineup. 3-player lineup. CeeDee Lamb, I think he finds the end zone. That's a demon play. Jared Goff, I took more on his passing yards. And then Bo Nix, goblin play to throw for more than half a touchdown. Just has to throw for 1. $20 lineup to win $90. Download the Prize Picks app today. Use our code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That is code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. Okay, let's talk about these 2 NFC South teams the Bears could play. First, the Panthers. Look, I've kind of picked on the Panthers over the last couple of years. I will fully acknowledge, listen, if they win the division, I get that South sucks. that is still a really good accomplishment. Dave Canales has done a nice job. They are an improved team. Tetairoa McMillan, excellent first-round pick. Bryce Young has made incremental improvements. He doesn't really scare me, though, especially if it's cold at Soldier Field. But he's been solid, right? 20 under 2,700 yards in 14 games. It's less than 200 yards per game. But, they do have things that do translate to cold weather. They can run the football with Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard. Tet McMillan is a tough guard. He can make some plays, but their defense is pretty average. Like, I just think the Bears at home, if they get the bye, heal some guys up. Like, if Carolina won a playoff game to get to this game, like, that'd be a huge accomplishment for him. Like, that would be a pretty big letdown if the Bears drew Carolina and lost that game at home. How about the Bucs? On paper, they should be good. Now, I know they've had some injuries, but, like, Mike Evans is back now. They've gotten a little healthier on the offensive line. Baker Mayfield, guys, through a month, looked like the MVP. He has fallen off a cliff. Compare his first 6 games to the last 9. First 6, awesome, right? Completion percentage, touchdown interception ratio, passer rating. He was running around. Past 9, I mean, he has just collapsed here. And, I know he's dealing with the left shoulder issue, and that's probably still plaguing him a bit. But turnovers, less touchdowns, QB rating 77. Like, he is just not playing well. I mean, to be honest, this 9-game sample size, he's playing like a backup. Like, it's not just he's playing like a poor start. He's playing like a backup. He has not been good. He's not generating explosives. He's not accurate. And listen, we talk about with Mykel Williams' his completion percentage, but like, Bears offense generates big plays. Like, he's not generating big plays. It's a lot of underneath stuff. Like, it's been a rough go. So I think you draw either of these two teams. Number one, they're both warm weather climate teams. You get them at home. Like, that's your opponent to get to go to the NFC Championship game. Could you imagine that scenario? You get to play Tampa or Carolina to get to go to the NFC Championship game. That is about as good as an opportunity as you could imagine. Like, if that situation plays out. I don't think that'll happen. First of all, the Bears have to get the number 1 seed, and I don't see Carolina or Tampa winning a playoff game the way those two teams have played this year. But if that happens, you better take advantage, because that is an awesome chance to get to the NFC title game. Okay, who do you most want to play in the playoffs? You give me Tampa or Carolina, sign me up. The only way you get them in the first round is if you're the 5 seed, which that means you lost out and Green Bay won out. We don't want that. But get them in the second round, I'm in. And then lastly, if the Bears are a wild card team, because again, if they do lose out and Green Bay wins out, the Bears would fall to somewhere in the wild card, 5 through 7. They've already clinched a playoff spot, but the seeding would still be determined. You could play one of these 3 teams, the Rams, Seahawks, or 49ers, because one of them will win the division, and in that scenario, could potentially be the 2 or 3 seed, probably the 2. More likely, the winner of that division gets the 1 seed if it's not the Bears. So you wouldn't play them in that scenario, obviously, because that team would get a bye. But if they're the 2, you could play them. Or more likely, would it just flip with Green Bay? Like, they get the 2, you're the 7 now? Certainly possible. Maybe you get Philly in the 3-6 game or the 2-7 game if they jump up to the 2 seed. If you're the 5 seed, you could draw Carolina or Tampa. So, again, if you do fall to the wild card, that's the dream scenario. You go down to Tampa or Carolina and get to play one of those 2 teams. We don't want to fall to the wild card, but if you do, that's who you want. The only team we haven't talked about yet out of all these scenarios based on where the Bears finish up is the Eagles. And I know the playoffs would be a different deal. It would be another notch up in, intensity, etc. But the Bears have already gone into the Lincoln and won a playoff game. Now, in this scenario, they would have lost their final 2 regular season games, and the Eagles have been playing a little bit better. It wouldn't be the same dynamic, but I think the Bears would have at least a puncher's chance in that game. I mean, they dominated Philadelphia on the road. Now, I would expect they would make adjustments, and Vic Fangio would not give up 280 yards rushing, but I do think if the Bears do have to go on the road, whether it's in the first round, second round, or if they get to the NFC title game and have to play on the road, they're built to do it. They can play in conditions. If they need to play indoors, they can do that. Their offensive line is physical. They can run the football. They can generate explosives in the pass game. So they've got the ingredients to go play on the road if they need to. Obviously, you want to play through Soldier Field, but if not, they can certainly go on the road and make things happen. Okay, who do you not want to play in the playoffs? Ask the guys who you'd like to play. Who do you not want to play? I've said it. I don't want to play the Rams. I just think they're a better team. I think they're better than you. They're the only team I think with full confidence is better than the Bears. If Sam Darnold's on, I also think the Seahawks are, but he's more of a wild card than Matthew Stafford. So the Rams are the one team I would say. If you play them, be tough for me to predict a win. Maybe I would, depending on the vibes at the time, but that would be a tough matchup. All right, that's going to do it for Chicago Bears now. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. We got 2 more games left. Then it'll be playoff time in the Windy City. I cannot wait. We'll cover it all. Hit that subscribe button and bear down.